Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Go, Dr. Energy Piazza.
RaRa is in the house, Catherine the Sarah Myers.
Welcome back to the BU Network. Today, we have something a little different for you. We've been hearing some questions from our clients, and we thought we would take this opportunity to answer one quick question with one quick answer. In fact, two quick answers, because we're both going to give our take on this question.
And we get these questions together, we get them separate. Actually, we've had these questions ourselves. So these are questions that we have, and sometimes I ask myself that question, even as I know I have a solution. There are days that I just need like a little bit of a prompt. So for somebody who's watching thinking, I know my stuff, well, so do we, but sometimes you just get wrapped up in whatever you're doing. So what happens when you get wrapped up and you're looking for something? What do they call that? A needle in a haystack?
Needle in a haystack sometimes, yep. Better have a strong magnet.
Yeah, that's the BU network could be the magnet
Right.
for that. So how does the question come across to you when we're with our clients?
So the big question is that I've heard is, how do you store and organize your files, like especially client files, so that they can access them, or that you can access your own files? You know, videos, social media posts, graphics, all of these things.
So I think the first question is, how are you keeping them? So if you're using a pen and paper, then it needs to go digital. So if we're talking about storing digital files, you might want to get it into a Google Doc. Or if you're using a Mac, you can use different tools. You want to get it into a digital file. You might use Pages. You might use, it could be a slideshow, a PowerPoint. It could be any digital item. So once it's there, then it's in our computer somewhere. So where do we put it so we can find it? And I'm not talking about scrolling, right? We're not talking about social media.
That is a needle in it.
So it's there. It's called, let's say, the BU network, right? So we're in, let's go to Google Drive. I think Google Drive is a great place to put our things.
Sure.
Okay. So what would we do? Create a folder?
So it depends on how your brain works and how you like to organize. You know, some people want to have organized with folders and subfolders and subfolders, and some people prefer to be very specific in the naming of their files, and then just drop everything into one big folder and then use the search function to find what they're looking for.
Okay, let's do that one. Let's do that. Let's do the one that you and I, our minds don't go to that.
Yeah.
Let's use, right? Let's get that.
Let's get that one out of the way.
Get it out of the way so we can think.
So we can focus again. So the way this one would work was you would name something very specific. So if there's a specific project you were working on, you would name the file in that project. For example, say you were creating a Facebook post for a specific date about a specific offering or service that you have. So for example, it could be creating a Facebook post for December the 15th, 2025 for this project, which is called Meet the Press, for lack of a better term. So you could name that file. I would personally, if I was going to use the naming convention, 2025 December 15 dash Facebook post dash Meet the Press. That's how I would name it. Okay. And then I would just dump it into whatever folder it is. And then when I need to go and find it later, I can type in using any of those parameters, the date, project title, or the type of post it is, and the search will surface all of those different parameters. So that's one way of doing it.
So can I talk about that?
Oh, yeah, sorry, just because that hurt my brain.
Yes, I know.
Trying to even do that.
Yeah, so I'll go on the same topic. So we'll name a file. So I agree with the 2025, but let me just give you a different version in case your brain thinks a different way. So this is going to give me an even bigger headache. So let's say you call it, let's just say LinkedIn or Facebook. Now you call it LinkedIn. So it's going to be in alphabetical order ultimately, right? So if you have LinkedIn and you do this for years, you'll call up LinkedIn and then you'll go in and you'll use the search for 2025. So if you really like basic, simple things, you'll call it what it is. I do recommend you put the year. If you put the year in the beginning or the end, it's a good idea to put that year, but you'll see all 2025s, and then you might see the beginning or the full word of what's next. It depends. So if you want to see Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, then you might use that. When you do that, it's like going into a book and then searching what's inside the book, or if you have tabs. So when you put everything in one place, you know it's there. And then you use the search engine because it is not necessarily organized. And for our brains, we're thinking that doesn't work for us. So let's go to what works for us. But that's a way to do it. There's no
That's
wrong
one way to do it, right? So the other way to do it is to set up top folders and then subfolders depending on what you're doing. So here's the example. If, for example, we were doing work for a client, overall we have a home file folder called the BU Network client. Then below that, we would have the name of that client. So for example, Acme Health Services, that would be a file. Then within that Acme Health Services, we would then have subfolders for each year that we worked with Acme Health Services. And then within that folder, we would have project names within that year so that we would be able to find those project files. Now, the cool part about this is it's much easier in my brain, and I think with RaRa as well, to be logical. Okay, we know it's this client, so we go to this folder. We know it's this year, we go to this folder, and we know it's this project, and boom, files are there. And that makes the most sense for our brain.
Yes. And so let's talk about finances. Let's say you're going to track your money, track your invoices.
Which you should do for your business, by the way.
Yes, absolutely, which is why I wanted to talk about it. One of my favorite topics to talk about money. If you're going to use the company name and then download the invoices for the company, it makes a lot of sense. So here's where a subfolder might come in really crystal clear. If the company is IBM and their invoices, I would then name the invoice January, February, and I would put that in a 2025 invoice folder within IBM. So it would say IBM. I would have 2025 invoices or invoices 2025, and then I would have 12 of them or 24, whatever it is. So those subfolders would be in that one company, and I wouldn't have to go searching. For me, that makes sense to my logical brain because I'm going deep. It's like when we're building things, right? We're going deep. We have a foundation and we're going deep into it. So instead of taking all this space in digital storage, we take this space.
And that kind of leads us to the sort of the next problem or the next step, which we'll cover in another video, is once you've got this folder structure set up, where do you save it? We've talked a little bit about Google Drive already. For us, I have set it up for us to have it locally on a hard drive, and then it's mirrored in Google Drive. So we have two locations, so we always have access to all the files. Now, the problem becomes when we're doing media production for a lot of people. So there's a lot of big files when we start talking about video and especially video files. Audio is not so bad if it's audio only, but when it's video, the files get big in a hurry, especially if you're doing it at 4K. So you start to need more space. And of course, Google and Apple and other cloud services, Microsoft OneDrive, they charge a fair bit for extra storage over and above what your account comes with. So we're looking at solutions right now of how to solve that problem. And we'll definitely be covering a future video on that because we've got it narrowed down pretty good.
So Dr. Energy, this makes me think about shoes and purses and clothes. You really never have enough storage, nor do we ever have enough of any of those when we go shopping. And then after we go shopping, we go to California Closets, or some of us go to IKEA. And then we look for ways to take the space and store things within the space so that we can have it all in the same place, but not necessarily stretched out because there isn't enough closet space. So storage is an ongoing topic, I think, in our lives, in the space that we live, in the size of our car. It's not the size, they say, right? It's really
It's how you use it.
exactly. And the same thing goes for digital
Well,
storage.
so it's wonderfully, for the, I'm not saying guys don't collect shoes and other things, suits and things, but to make it a little bit more hit home for the guys a little bit more, especially if you're mechanically or type inclined, think of it as shelf space in your garage, space for all your tools. So it's organized so you can find everything as you need it. You don't have to go searching for it all over the place. That's the same kind of thing that we're talking.
Yeah, I like that because also digital things, we don't get to throw them out. We tend to lose them and forget it. We don't say, hey, let me go clean out my storage. We're like, I don't have that. Or multiple downloads because we can't find it. That's another story. Don't get me started on how many
Don't even get me
times.
started on that one,
Not
man.
talking about. We're not talking about that.
I'm not
You're talking to me about that.
talking to me about that.
All right. So I think
Okay.
that covers it. And that really gets me thinking about how we set our things up. And I'm glad that our brains think exactly the
It's a
same.
good thing. It's a good thing that we think we're aligned in our thinking. Otherwise, we'd have a lot of trouble with our storage solutions for sure.
Yes, we would. And sometimes people have that trouble within their own minds without having to have someone else to support them in a business.
Without having somebody else in their head.
The alter ego, right?
That's a whole other story.
So on that note, Dr. Energy, I think we've answered that question on multiple levels in multiple
Yes.
ways, in the way that we feel comfortable and the way that we feel it's totally stretched. So we've covered all bases.
Yep. So now you've got a couple of ideas that you can take and run with, and you can tailor it to your own needs. We look forward to hearing what those solutions are for you. You can leave us some comments down in the comments below the video and let us know how you organize things. What's your favorite way? Everybody's got a favorite way, I hope.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you all in the next one. Ciao, Bellows.
Ciao.